if you make a commitment, you should stick it out longer than you would just willy-nilly like deciding to do something.
You don't have to get married. If you don't feel like you like the person anymore or you're in love with them, if you want to break up with them, hey, that's your choice. You haven't made a promise that you're not going to do that.
Is marriage only good because you can't get out? I know that that's part of what makes you not do it as quickly.
Officially married, legally married, that means nothing at all. That's just whatever. That's just is going to save you some money on your taxes. So there's a lot of people that say, I don't want to have the government involved in my marriage. I agree. I would not like to have the government involved in our marriage.
People are upset about the video of you talking about if you make a commitment, not being attracted to somebody is not an excuse to leave. They think it is an excuse. And I get like those people probably been burned or hurt or whatever. And I understand that. But at the same time, if you make a commitment, you should stick it out longer than you would just willy-nilly like deciding to do something.
You don't have to get married. You don't have to make a marriage commitment. We're not talking about that you can't break up if you're girlfriend and boyfriend.
Even if you're committing to that level, it's still somewhat serious.
At that level, if you don't feel like you like the person anymore or you're in love with them, if you want to break up with them, hey, that's your choice. You haven't made a promise that you're not going to do that. But if you want to get married, then you got to weigh it out and be like, okay, I'm making a really serious commitment and choice. And it has to be to the point of, if I don't like you anymore, I'm still going to stay with you. Because it's just ridiculous. Because how are you going to base anything off of anything? How do you have any kind of security or trust if they're like, okay, well, I kind of love you right now a lot, but in the future, if I don't, then I'm not going to stick with you. We're all going to get old.
You don't feel like even just dating could be that level of commitment? Because here's why I'm asking why. Because I was talking to a lady in the comments and she was like, what if we're not meant to be together long term and don't involve the government in your relationship or your sex life or whatever? Sure, if that's what she wants to do, that's fine. I didn't tell her that, no, you need to get married. But also at the same time, if you're committing to being with somebody, even not marriage yet, shouldn't you still be trying to work it out? Yes, you can get out easier and things like that too, but is marriage only good because you can't get out easy? I know that that's like part of what makes you not do it as like quickly and like as like a rash decision, because a lot more is involved. And I think that's a good thing because people, especially now, are very like instant gratification, very like drop people in an instant. So I feel like because more things are involved, it's good that it makes people have to work harder. But also at the same time, I feel like a commitment is a commitment and you should be trying your hardest before you even get to that point anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should be trying your hardest for sure, but you haven't made any kind of binding promise at that point. So if you change your mind, that's okay.
Can you make a binding promise without being married?
Well, sort of. Being married by the state, officially married, legally married, that means nothing at all. That's just whatever. That's just is going to save you some money on your taxes type of thing. So there's a lot of people that say, I don't want to have the government involved in my marriage. I agree. I would not like to have the government involved in our marriage, but I did because I'd also like to save a lot of money on our taxes. So it just makes sense. But if that weren't the case, then I would say, yeah, let's not get legally married, but let's have a ceremony. Let's make the promises to each other, which effectively is exactly the same. It should be the same in your mind, right? Because that's what you're doing. But when you're making that actual commitment and promise in front of your family, in front of your friends, you're writing the vows, you're saying the things, you're exchanging the rings, the token of that commitment, regardless of whether the state is involved or not, that's the level of commitment that
so you're saying if you, whether the government's involved or not, if you make that high of a commitment, then you should heed the advice that you said in the video.
Stick it out.
Figure it out. Work it out.
Figure it out. That's better than just sticking it out.
Well, what I had said to her too is that because her viewpoint is fair, I went and looked at her profile and she had been divorced, and I get that she, is talking from her own experience. But there is something to be said that a lot of the information prior to now, because I feel like now we are getting better relationship information, not just from our podcast, but from other people as well too. And what I told her was that, but what if we just haven't been fed the right information about relationships or how to have a healthy relationship or marriage? And that's what causes us not to be together long term. Because there are plenty of married people, or even not married people, or who like committed to each other, like you said, but didn't get the government involved, who have been together a long time and they are genuinely happy. So if those people exist, then something is working. They've figured out something that works. And obviously that's why we're here too, because we figured out something that ends up working. And she wasn't saying that her situation benefits everybody. She acknowledged that, and I'm not saying that everybody wants to even be monogamous like you and I, but you can't really paint it black and white. And if you do want a relationship like you and I have, you can have it. And if you want to involve the government for the tax benefits, you can do it. And if you have a relationship that's maybe not doing the best, you can change it. She was trying to act like we had a negative one-way view of things, but really she was actually coming off a little bit more negative, and people might have seen that and been like, now I don't want to get married. And like, what if they did before? And the thing is that both are a possibility. We never sit here and say that people need to get married. We tell people the benefit.
We tell them don't get married, actually, is what we tell them, is because you're not ready. But if you do, then realize that it is a lifelong commitment. And there's no getting out of that, basically. Aside from the obvious reasons where that would be the case. The reason why I think it's so important, without sidetracking the whole episode, is that intimacy, or let's say vulnerability, is based off of trust, like a trust fall. If you do a trust fall with someone and they're like, are you going to catch me? Yeah, unless I get a text message or something and it distracts me. Are you going to be vulnerable? Are you going to fall back? No, you're not going to. And so if you're in a marriage with someone and they're like, are you going to be there no matter what, sickness and health, till death do we part? And they're like, I don't think I'm going to fall out of love with you, but if I did, obviously I would leave for my own happiness. How are you going to be vulnerable with that person? Are you like, you better put on a lot of makeup. You better make sure they never see any weaknesses. You better make sure that you never exhibit any kind of qualities that would make them fall out of love with you, because they're not going to stick around if it's no longer good for them. You see what I'm saying? So how can you be real and be vulnerable if you don't have that? You're creating that level of trust through a commitment that's more than just your word. It's a ceremony. It's a legal binding if you do through the government. It's in front of your family and friends. That allows you to have that level of intimacy and vulnerability to trust someone's going to be there no matter what. That changes the very nature of the relationship. If you don't believe that someone's going to be there no matter what, your investment is not going to be as great. And so you're actually creating a situation where you're more likely to fail because your investment isn't as great.
We take marriage very seriously. So we're firm believers of don't even get married unless you fully trust this person. And you have a sort of relationship where you feel like you're going to be together forever. And that's what you want. You're not accepting any less. That's what you're striving for. Because you have to have that level. If you're just like, okay, I like them, but something's upset me, or, we still have this problem, but maybe getting married will fix that and we'll be happier. We'll have a kid and it'll be better. That sort of situation. If you're getting married to try to fix something when you already have things going on, then you're just going to accumulate more problems, not get rid of the ones that you already have. And you have to be together and face things and talk about things, be able to communicate so that when you do get married and you do commit to that level, that you've already dealt with a lot of things together and faced adversity and done all these things, and you guys made it out on the other side and you trust them 100%, and all the things that really you should have together before you get married. We even had things that we had to fully resolve that were under the rug a little bit before you even proposed. We don't take marriage lightly either.
And just before the hypocrisy comes in, I am divorced. And we talked about that in the, was it like episode 4, if they want to learn all the juicy details of that. But what I would say about that is this is how you learn these things, through experience. And so,